We are here for the aftermath of Survivor Series, my honest thoughts and opinions and review of this year of WWE Survivor Series Wargames. But before we get into my, remember to hit that like and subscribe button because we got more wrestling content on the way, so stay tuned for that. So we start off the night with the women's Wargames match, and this is a mixed bag. Some people online don't like it, some people don't like it, some people do. It's been a mixed bag of emotion, but personally to me, I think there's a lot of good and bad. I think the one biggest thing that really lacks in this whole match was the story, because you only had a couple moments where you see, can they coexist, like Bayley and Io having one moment with each other. But then the other issue too was that there's not really a story in going into it. Like Bayley was like the last person into this to took out Jade Cargill. They didn't really like work on the whole thing with Bayley and Bianca not liking each other, Io and Bayley not liking each other. And for some reason backstage segments kind of being buddy, but like it's all kind of all over the place. But I feel like the biggest issue is kind of like how they started. I feel like they put Bayley and Nia Jax first. They could have did Bayley and Candice. They could have did Io and Candice. I have no issue with Nia Jax. I think she's been phenomenal. I think just her type of style of wrestling does not fit in the way of wrestling, because she's a more slower paced wrestler. She doesn't fit into the part. She would fit in like the later point if she came in later and been that dominant force to help her team get back into it. And all those other things too, the heels need that advantage. It makes it for a better story instead of the faces having it. The other issue too was like, how did the heels team have more issues between Tiffany and Candice more than the babyface team? It doesn't really make more sense. Plus too, why are you gonna have the heels losing when you have your speed champion, even though it doesn't really matter? You have your two world champions and you have your Miss Money in the Bank, even though they haven't been the most protected thing really. They've been taking a lot of pins throughout the months, which we'll get into one of them later. But the other biggest thing too that I have is that there was a spot in the match where Tiffany has the briefcase and they do the same spot again where someone sees her, she freaks out like, no, you didn't see me. Like, I feel like when people have the Money in the Bank, they turn stupid. Like, of course there is 9 other people in this ring. The 2 champions are laid out. Someone's gonna see, and you're gonna get freaked out by Raquel when she's chained by handcuffs on the rope of the apron. Like, why are you getting going crazy, being shocked and surprised by that? But overall, outside of all those negatives, I feel like when all the women finally got in the ring, that's when it finally went amazing. I feel like everything just clicked. All these spots were just crazy. It really worked. Especially, I feel like 2 MVPs in this match was Tiffany Stratton and Io Sky. I love their chemistry together, trying to outprove each other, them going back and forth. Tiffany hitting a crazy swanton from top out of Io Sky hitting a crazy over the moonsault in her amazing trash can spot. Everything was very great. I just wish Bayley got more moments to shine, and I wish especially all of them, Candice got more time to shine, because she's a Wargames legend in the WWE, so I feel like she should have got more spots. Either way though, I feel like everyone looked great. It fit the whole chaos of a Wargames match. That's what it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be messy. It's supposed to be chaotic. War's never clean. And in terms of in-ring rise in this match, I was fine with it. I thought it was a very good match, especially in the later half. All the women did a great job, but overall story and the booking decision making the babyface team won. I didn't completely agree with it, especially since they gave letting Rhea pin Liv. Out of all people, I feel like Io should have pinned Liv, because that would have made more credible for their story leading into Saturday Night Main Event. That's probably where it's gonna be. I just kind of hate that they're kind of throwing someone like Io Sky, who should never be thrown to the side, throwing her to the side, let it pin with Rhea. Even though how people have their own thoughts and opinions on how they booked that story, you could have saved that for later and focused on Io, because she's the number 1 contender right now. But either way, the match was great. The story wasn't there, but overall I still enjoyed the women's Wargames match. Then we get into the United States Championship match of LA Knight versus Shinsuke Nakamura, and oh my god, they surprised me. They actually made Shinsuke Nakamura win, because it's been hard to trust the WWE with some booking decisions, because we understood that Shinsuke wasn't gonna beat Seth with the champion when he was World Heavyweight Championship with a new character, and he was like, you build him up, and then every single time he loses, and then he's basically cooked. He comes back as something that's cool, interesting, and then he loses. But this time with this character, especially how rushed this feud was, he needed to win, or at least get disqualified, get himself a DQ, where he could end up getting a rematch at Saturday Night Main Event or somewhere else. But in a matter of shocking events, they actually gave Shinsuke Nakamura the title. And even though the match, it wasn't alright much, it wasn't something crazy, I think his presentation is great. This Sith Lord Nakamura with his cool type of samurai, just the overall presentation has been great. I'm very interested, it makes me more interested now to see where they are going with this Shinsuke Nakamura. But at the same time too, I feel like this is fine with LA Knight. Either A, even if they take LA Knight and he goes for a world title now, or what I think they're probably just gonna do it where Shinsuke wins the title for now, and LA Knight's on this chase to back for the title, because he's kind of fighting everybody in the division. I just think there wasn't any like that big giant feud that he had going in when he was champion, because all the feuds he got himself entered into it, not making his own feud one-on-one with somebody. But either way, I'm just happy for Nakamura, because he's actually, there's interest, there's saved, because he's actually, this might be finally the chance he's actually able to build and finally have something, instead of just being that loser that's just basically getting overcooked, overburned at this, finally not getting invaded with a potential Nakamura push. It looks like we might finally be actually getting a Shinsuke Nakamura, and I'm just very overall excited what they're doing with Shinsuke Nakamura. I'm very excited what they do with him in the United States Championship and what's next for LA Knight. But it was a good booking decision, an overall alright match, and I enjoyed it. Next, we get into the triple threat match for the Intercontinental Championship, and that was Braun Breaker, Sheamus, and Ludwig Kaiser. Overall, we knew that this match was going to be hard-hitting, great, and everyone was going to excel in this match, and I thought it was great. Even the crowd, who was being boring all night, actually got alive during this match. So with all these three people in here, we know it was going to be a great match. And overall, I do think it was a good idea that they did let Braun Breaker retain, just because he recently did lose to Jey Uso, so he needs to collect his win back. But I feel like this all protected everyone, and I feel like this overall was a great match, because you had Ludwig Kaiser finally getting his moment to shine, to showcase why he's so good, why he's so talented, and why he could be a future mid-card champion, a world champion. Like, he really has those capabilities and those skills to be a top person in the WWE. And of course, Sheamus, he can bring a good match out of anybody, and he's been killing it ever since he's came back. We're constantly having good match, great match after great match. And of course, Braun Breaker, this freak athlete who's super good, just constantly just flying about throughout the match, going here, going there. It was super crazy. Just Sean Braun Breaker, you already know he is a crazy athlete. He is super amazing, super talented, and there's even more bright futures with him in this Intercontinental Championship reign, and for probably future multi-time World Championship reign. But overall, it was a very good match, potentially even almost match of the night. But I do really like, though, that they're teasing that Sheamus Grand Slam Championship. Figured it wasn't going to be here. That is something that's going to be saved for like a WrestleMania moment, because how much they can constantly keep bringing it up. But I do love they got that tease of getting the fans right up right when Sheamus potentially was going to win. Ludwig pulls him out. Braun Breaker, comes with the spear and wins it. I feel like they're really teasing that big Sheamus moment when he finally wins the Intercontinental Championship. So I feel like they're saving for Braun Breaker to get the wins now, and then Sheamus to eventually dethrone him at WrestleMania and get that big moment. But overall, very good match. Highlighted Ludwig very well, Sheamus very well, and Braun very well. Everyone looked perfect in this. Very good. I really enjoyed it. Then we get into the World Heavyweight Championship match of Gunther versus Damian Priest. Overall, the match was pretty good. It did not beat the SummerSlam match. Also, with the ending of it too, even though I even easily predicted that was going to happen, I just feel like the SummerSlam match was better, and it was kind of weird because the in-ring narrative that they told for this match was completely different from what the story that they were telling on Monday Night Raw. This entire feud, Gunther was nervous, he was scared, really wasn't himself. Damian was just overconfident. He was easily getting the best of Gunther, but in the ring, in the match, right when Gunther was able to target that shoulder and then basically kind of switched up, he was like a hyena. He preyed on the shoulder and was just destroying methodically throughout the match, destroying that shoulder, going through certain moments. It was like a completely different story from what they've been telling the entire time. But you really saw it in play throughout the match of, Gunther, Damian almost getting moments of hitting the Razor's Edge or the South of Heaven. Couldn't do it because of that shoulder, consistently going throughout the match. And the match was hard hitting, but it was a lot more technical than the last one, even though I feel like the SummerSlam match was still way better. And I do really like, though, how they really highlighted Gunther's abilities with attacking the shoulder. All these different holds and locks of him constantly targeting the shoulder. It was all great, and they were still going a great back and forth. They're still highlighting each other and telling that in-ring narrative of their shoulder being that hurt weakness spot for Damian. It was a solid match between the beginning and My only real issue was the ending, because they've been telling this story with Gunther of him completing all his past mistakes. Randy Orton, did he really win because his shoulder was up? Sami Zayn beating him at WrestleMania, and now Damian Priest, because of Finn Balor, he probably would have lost to Damian Priest at SummerSlam, and I feel like he needed that clean win. But I understand also towards the story also wouldn't make sense, but how they did it was just so predictable and didn't hit right. The SummerSlam one did of Finn Balor coming in, hitting a weak coup de grace on Damian Priest with a feud that none of us really wants to see because probably they booked it. But also too, I kind of feel like it diminishes what Gunther was trying to do, finishing, because well, at least what I thought how they were going to book it, Gunther getting through all these cons of his previous title reign to be this complete and unstoppable Terminator force. But I don't know, I guess they're not doing that because he wasn't happy that Finn Balor intervened in it and then booting him in the face. Either way, I feel like that's kind of soured the mood at the end of the match, but either way, it was still a solid match and I still very enjoyed the match overall. Then we get into the final match of the night. We get into men's Wargames match of OG Bloodline with CM Punk and the new bloodline of Solo Sikoa's bloodline. And this match was amazing, from the storytelling, from the in-ring, from the crazy spots. It was chaotic. It truly meant what a Wargames match was supposed to be, you know. I feel like they played all the parts so just slowly going through the match throughout the story. Plus too, this just shows too why heels should have the advantage. It just makes for better storytelling of a Wargames match. And then also too, the story of Punk and Roman not trusting each other. You know, when Punk's about to go out, Roman puts his arm out and so let Sammy go out instead, and you see that friction. And then you also have it too where you have the moment of where Roman's about to go out, Punk shoves him out the way. It was like great storytelling of these two not working together. And another even great story point adding to all of the dysfunction in the group between Roman and Punk in the cage. And actually when they actually got to the bigger cage, even when everyone was down, we helped everyone else up, Roman did, except CM Punk. Paul Heyman had to come out and tell them like, hey, we need to be united if we want to beat this threat. We need to be together, and getting them together, and they were all together in the ring from the OG bloodline and new bloodline, and it was just all out war. It all worked together, and I feel like there was some pretty cool moments in this match. Like you had the Usos coming back together. You also in the ring, Jacob Fatu being this crazy beast of a monster, this unstoppable force, and hopefully it is just selling. He didn't hurt himself that bad in the ring. And also to the MVPs of the match, probably Bronson Reed and Jimmy Uso. You know, had the moment Jimmy Uso hitting a whisper in the wind and him going on these crazy spots of hitting a clean top rope, top of the cage splash. It was perfect. You know, Bronson Reed hitting this crazy tsunami and CM Punk saving Roman Reigns at the last second. Him going through that was just crazy. I didn't think they were actually going to do a top of the cage tsunami, but they did. Then you had Solo Sikoa all by himself with the rest of his bloodline, took it out, and Roman's like, you can stop this now. It's acknowledge me, come back to the bloodline. And he was like, F you, I ain't doing that. And they all hit him with his finisher. The OG bloodline and CM Punk hit him all with their finishers, with Roman pinning him, and they all celebrate and have a classic babyface ending of the match. No surprises returns, which is great. Even though this felt like an ending of a chapter, like this is the end of everything, it does kind of think that we're gonna eventually probably Saturday Night Main Event or the Rumble. It's gonna be a one-on-one between Roman and Solo for the Ula follow. That's potentially where I see where they're going with this. But overall, I think the men's Wargames match was very, very enjoyable, and I feel like they told the story right and had the chaoticness of a Wargames match. Really enjoyed it, had a lot of fun. But overall, I feel like Survivor Series Wargames 2024 was a mixed bag of good and bad and just alright and very fun and exciting moments. And I feel like it could have delivered more, been better, but overall it was still a pretty good show. But let me know in the comments, what was your favorite match of the night? What was your least favorite match of the night? And did you agree with all the decisions of who won and lost in every single match? Let me know down in the comments. Hit the like and subscribe button, and we're gonna have to see what is next after the fallout of Survivor Series War. See you all in the next one.